Pathmonk is the AI for website conversions. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in the buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50% by adding Pathmonk to your website in seconds, letting the artificial intelligence do all the work, and increase conversions by 50% while you keep doing marketing as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. All right, everyone, welcome to today's episode of Pathmonk Presents. Today, we are joined by Ben Stevenson. He's the head of growth at Upgraded. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, excited for this conversation to start. I want to start with the basics, right, Ben? What's the big idea behind Upgraded? And if you were explaining it to a friend over coffee, how would you describe what you do?
Long term, I would say that we are building the best electronics retailer in the world, all online. You look at companies like Best Buy, it's a $14 billion company, but no one really likes it. And so we think there's a lot of room for improvement there, especially one that allows for more refurbished devices that are better for the environment. So not as much waste is ending up in landfills every year. And what that looks like right now is a MacBook upgrade program where say you want to buy a new MacBook, but you don't want to pay $3,000 up front. With us, you can spread that cost out over 36 months and from 0% interest. So you're just paying like a low monthly subscription, essentially. And then if you want, you can upgrade every 24 months to the latest model. So we have a lot of customers who are like designers or developers or editors who want to have the latest device, want an affordable way to get it. But there's just nothing really good out there yet. They don't want to have to deal with reselling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. So we make it super simple for them.
Got it. Okay. What kind of customer do you think is the best fit for that type of product, right? Because I'm thinking, obviously, I have a MacBook myself, right? And I do love an upgrade. Don't get me wrong, right? But is there a specific type of customer that you're targeting for this right now, or maybe across the industry? If there's maybe a key problem that you think you're solving for them, and how does that impact their shopping experience? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, I would say there's mainly two. So the first one is kind of what I mentioned, which is people who use their laptop or their MacBook for work and who really depend on it for like speed and efficiency. And maybe it's making them money because they're a freelancer or something like that. So anyone who's a developer or designer or a video editor, photographer, people like that, it's like you kind of have to have the latest device. Otherwise, you're just wasting a bunch of time sitting around waiting for things to load. And so for those people, we make it affordable and make the upgrade process really simple. Whereas before you'd have to you're always reselling a device on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or whatever. And it becomes kind of a hassle. The second one is people who just want a more affordable way to buy a MacBook, and especially who have like a good credit score where they would qualify for the 0% interest, because you don't have to upgrade every 2 years if you don't want to. You could just finish paying it off over 36 months and then it's yours to keep forever. So we have a lot of people who are just like, oh, I can get this for 0% interest and pay over 36 months instead of all up front. Like that's a no-brainer. And then oftentimes people will stick that extra money into like a high yield savings account or something like that and just kind of earn interest on the money you otherwise would have spent. So I would say those are the two kind of main people that we target.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. How do most of them discover you? Are there any channels that have become your go-to for bringing in your customers? I guess, in a way you'd be presenting yourself as a financing option of sorts, right? But what kind of channels are you using the most right now?
Yeah, right now it's mainly split between the majority is paid marketing, which is mostly Facebook ads and Google ads. We do a little bit of like Reddit and X as well. And then one other thing that's worked well for us is sponsored posts on some of these tech or Apple news sites. So like an Apple Insider, 9 to 5 Mac, Cult of Mac, things like that, where, it's people who are already in the Apple ecosystem. They love learning about this stuff. And then we just get in front of them that way. But we're also working to do a lot more organic content creation. So like we started a YouTube channel in the past 2 months. that's starting to grow well and things like that, because that's sort of the long-term vision, is to build a whole media empire, media arm side of this that helps educate and teach people about tech and buying tech and all of that sort of stuff.
Right. I would assume that kind of involves unboxing, tech reviews and things like that, or
Yep, exactly. So yeah, all of that stuff, productivity tips, more lifestyle content. We'll do it all. It's all in the early stages of growing.
yeah, makes sense. So, obviously I talked about Pathmark in the intro here, but it's a website tool, so questions about website itself that has to slip in there, right? So how much of a role does your website play in pulling in new customers? And more than anything, I would love to understand if there's anything about it that you think really works right now, or on the other hand, anything you've got your eye on improving.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say for us, the website is mostly, I would say, bottom of funnel, kind of a conversion metric. Like, we don't do a lot of content within the website that brings people in. Like, we don't have a large like blog presence or article presence that is kind of SEO driven, where people are finding us through that. It's mainly just for purchasing. And so that's where it's, we look a lot more at just like, how do we increase conversion rates, things like that. And so I think what we've learned, one is, like, the website is an extension of your brand, and how the website comes across indicates to people how they should perceive your brand. So like for us, we try to model ourselves a little bit after Apple, because Apple is sort of a luxury product, but also one that many people have. You don't have to have a ton of money to like buy an Apple product. It's not like a Birkin bag or something like that. And so it feels very like nice and clean and modern. And so we try to build our website like that, so that people get that feeling as they're coming through the flow, and it feels very trustworthy and like, okay, this kind of feels familiar to me. It's not like you're claiming one thing in your ads and then your website experience doesn't match that at all. So that's a big one. Another one for us is just making sure that you explain everything extremely clearly, and especially in a way that makes sense to people who don't use the jargon or know the technical terms of like your business. Because I think a lot of times, like, all marketers and especially tech focused people, we're so used to all of these terms because you spend every day working with it, and so about the different APRs and the financing options, and how hard credit checks and soft credit checks and all of this stuff. But a lot of people, like, they just don't really think about that stuff, and they might not even know what some of these terms mean. And so how can you translate what the technical stuff means into like everyday language that anyone can understand as they're coming to the website? Make it as simple as possible so people don't have questions. So that's a big one. And for that, I think it's hard to beat like user testing, or just like, you can use some of these sites that will pay people to go through your checkout flow and stuff like that to learn what are the issues that they're running into, things like that. And so all of that has been kind of like our process, or how we think about it. I think long term, we do want to add more organic content to the website, or more of an SEO presence as well. So we're kind of giving people everything they would need on the website, as opposed to just being like the place to check out.
Right. I want to, it's a note on your first point about the branding, right? The website looking like Apple. In fact, when I was researching a little bit, before we got to recording today, I obviously visited getupgraded.com, and as soon as I opened it, I was like, hey, hold on, is this apple.com? What, did I mistype it? And I think it makes sense from a brand standpoint, to have that seamless kind of look and feel. Let's say, oh, is it Apple? No, hold on. I'm looking at the URL right now. It's not, but it looks like it. And so yeah, obviously, that's the main product that you're pushing right now. So I think it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from your perspective as a head of growth, beside obviously, the branding and being strategic with with the placement of elements, what are the key components of a high converting e-commerce site for you? Maybe, if you can share, if you have any tools or strategies that you rely on to boost sales, then, more than happy for you to share. I'm sure our listeners will love it too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so I mean, I think of it from just kind of every stage of the funnel and the buying journey. For us, I would say a lot of the focus is on how are we presenting the information initially to customers so that, like, when they see the first Facebook ad, when they see the first ad on Google or something, making sure that all of the information is very clear, portrays the offer well, and makes sense throughout. I think after that, then the biggest thing is making sure that the website and the flow matches their expectations, so that when they, based on what you said, before, they saw the ad, now they're in the website, does it match what they were hoping for? I think another thing, at least with us, is you have to think through what are all of the questions or objections that people are going to have as they're going through your website. And especially, I think answering any questions around, like, how do you guys make money, or how does this work for you guys? Helping kind of understand that process can go a long way, especially when you have a product that almost seems like too good to be true, if that makes sense. That's one thing that we dealt with early on, is a lot of people were saying, well, how do you guys offer 0% interest? And like, how are you making money? Is this a scam? Like, we don't really get it. And so we tried to do a lot on our website to show the exact breakdowns of, we say, like, when you're buying this laptop, it's, $999 for this model. Then there's Apple Care, which adds another $179. And then we divide that by 36, and that's your monthly payment. So you see, like, okay, there's no hidden fees. There's nothing extra here. It's just, this the same price that you would get on some other site divided by 36, and then that's your price. So all of that is very transparent. We also talk about and tell customers, like, how we make money and explain our margin, so people get, like, okay, this isn't a scam. We're doing, these few things, and we just take like a margin on the wholesale price, etc. And so that, I think, goes a long way, because people want to know a little bit behind the scenes into, like, how the company works. And that doesn't apply to every company. Like, some companies, it's not as, I don't know, just not as applicable, or they don't really work in that way. But I think a lot of customers have questions as they go through their website, and it's your job to think of those questions before people even get there, to make sure you can address them. So that's a big one. I think analytics is always a key one. I feel like everyone says that. We personally use PostHog, which is like a pretty detailed analytics tool to look at, where people are coming from, how long they're staying on site, session recordings, things like that. So you can analyze user behavior. That's a big one. As well as, we've used sites like usertesting.com, or some of those other ones where, again, like I mentioned earlier, you can just pay people to go to this site, go through the flow, and kind of narrate their experience as they go through it. The only other one that I would say as well is, make sure you're listening to customers' feedback in any way that you can. I think a lot of times, any sort of e-commerce site, especially, or anything where you're not dealing with people in person, oftentimes it's easy to lose that kind of touch point or that feedback. And so we try to maintain a presence, like on Reddit, posting on there, and also seeing what people are saying about us. We look at all of the comments on our Facebook ads. So if people say, oh, I went to this site, but your prices weren't displayed very clearly, like, this doesn't make sense, this seems weird, like, we're reading all of that, and taking that in. YouTube comments, we're reading all of those to see what people are saying. And I think some people ignore that, but it's to their detriment. If your customers are giving you some sort of feedback, like, you should be taking it and applying it to your site.
Totally. I think that, the whole thing is around being able to listen to your customers. That's the way I understand it. And I like the point about, kind of preemptively eliminating objections with the copy itself and the website itself, so that people go through and, have a question in my mind. Oh, there he goes. It's been answered. I'm feeling more confident about going with you guys, because you clearly know what you're doing, if that makes sense, right? It's kind of like a back and forth that doesn't exist. It's only the person and website, right? So that's a great point for, converting. Yeah, definitely one of the best answers so far.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, this is slightly different, but well, like, when you're designing a product, there's the famous Henry Ford quote about building the product that people don't even know they want yet. Like, he said, if I asked customers what they wanted, they would have said faster horses.
Right.
But instead, if you can build the car and present that to them, people go, oh, this is way better. And so you should kind of be thinking about that as you're building the website. Like, how can I deliver the value people didn't even know that they wanted yet, but they're going to have these questions lingering in their mind, and how can I put that in front of them before they get there?
Right. Good one. Well, let's keep it on, that level of thinking, let's say. And I want to understand a little bit more about how you think, right? So I want to shift gears a little bit, talk about you as a leader. Ben, what as a head of growth, what's your daily life like? Mm, you know, uh, even if it comes to describing your typical workday or the main things you focus on, that I think that would be really helpful and insightful for our listeners and for myself also.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the way I try to think about it, and obviously, I mean, this is hard to do, but is split between long-term strategic thinking and then day-to-day getting stuff done. So especially at our company, like we're a pretty small team. And so I'm hands on keyboard doing a lot of the pretty much all of the work that needs to be done when it comes to
Mm,
growth stuff. So in terms of tactically day to day, it's a lot of thinking week by week, what is the plan for this week? Okay, we have some sponsored posts going out. I'm going to have to write those right up the first drafts to send out to these websites. So that's one. We're going to try to come up with some new video ads for this week. So I'm writing scripts for those. We're going to film those, on Thursday, say. Um, so there's that. We were doing check-ins on how are our ads performing so far. Are there any tweaks that we need to make? Are there any things that need to be moved around? All of those decisions are being made. So there's a lot of tactical stuff like that. And I one thing I really like about our company and we try to maintain is that there's not too many meetings. It's a lot of just like deep focused work time when you can really get into something. I've previously worked at a marketing agency where that was not the case. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those days where you've got like the zebra calendar where it's like 30-minute meeting, 30-minute work time, 30-minute meeting, 30-minute work time. And it's just very hard to get things done. And so trying to leave big blocks of time to get those tactical things done. But then I also think, and for me, the more fun part I would say is thinking long term strategically about like what do we need to be doing right now to win in this space? Where are the best strategies that we're not seeing yet? So right now there's a lot of very interesting stuff around content creation and around AI, I would say, are kind of the two big ones we're thinking about, where I think nowadays there's a lot more companies that are winning just based off of content creation. So I think like Duolingo is a great example. Yeah, that for like they have all sorts of marketing channels, but their organic content is crushing it on TikTok and Reels and things like that. And so they've really found a method that works. There's plenty of like smaller entrepreneurs like real estate agents who are crushing it on social media, and there's ways to make that work. So how can we find what would work for us? What is the new stuff to explore? And then going in, at least like running little tests there to see if that can work. Same thing with AI, seeing what people are doing, how are they using it for marketing? Can you use it to create ads? Can you use it to create scripts? Like where kind of figuring out where does it like really work? And like we can basically just like
mm,
almost outsource one of our things we need to get done to AI versus where is it still needing a little bit of work? Like for example, video generation. It's good at generating videos, but to turn those into actual ads yet, it's still like kind of it's not quite there. The hands will be kind of messed up. The fingers of like a human are like it doesn't quite look real. So then, but keeping a pulse on that stuff. So when it gets good enough, we can start integrating that into our work as well.
mm. That's good. Yeah. I mean, especially now with all the AI agents that people are coming up with and automations
Yep.
of it's just getting crazy. But the point about AI becoming more and more, let's say, realistic with the videos, I think we're getting there. Like you can see the actual progress day by day. If you see,
Hmm.
anything on social media, people will post, the not so good videos and the really good videos, and I think it's getting there, but and not quite, right? As for what you're saying, it doesn't sound like you can use it just yet, but it's helping in terms of maybe speeding up the process or maybe even ideation when it comes to Gen AI and whatnot. But
Yeah, totally.
that's very interesting. Okay, cool. So before we wrap things up, Ben, we typically have a rapid fire segment. So the only unspoken rule, and I guess I'm just speaking it right now, it's that we for a concise question, we need a concise answer. Would you be ready for
Okay,
that? All
I'd be
right,
ready for that.
so watching or reading?
Reading.
Okay, what's the latest book or article that you picked up, and are there any gems or ideas that really stuck with you?
I'll give you two. Book wise, I read the book from the YouTube channel Yes Theory. I'm not sure if you're
Hmm.
familiar with that, but they are
Yeah.
very popular. Great founding story. Super interesting book. It's sort of a biography. Article wise, there's one from this VC firm called NFX. And the article is titled, I think, Your Life on Network Effects. And it's a banger article. I'll say that. And it explains how the network you're in impacts your life in a very great degree. So that one got me thinking in a different way.
Love that. As an aside, have you ever watched the Buried Life?
I have not, but they were Yes Theory and them are they very similar, like work together. Yes Theory was
Yeah,
inspired by
yeah,
them
yeah.
a
It was
lot.
a
Yeah.
great show.
So
I love that.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if you had a magic wand and you could fix one frustrating thing in your marketing life with tech, what would it be?
I would say automation of video editing. We're doing a lot of like video filming, but the editing you still have to outsource to someone. It'd be great if we could automate that with AI.
Yeah, that typically it's that and emails, right? So that people
Yeah.
come up with. So yeah, that's a good one. Right then, if you could go back and give your past self a quick pep talk, right, at the start of your marketing journey, what advice would you drop?
Get around way more people who are actually doing marketing right now. There's a lot of great advice online, and you certainly shouldn't ignore that. But I think, especially in marketing and with AI, things move so quickly. It's really helpful to talk to people who are like marketing at other companies. And recently, I started hopping on more calls with people like that. And it's so helpful to just see like, oh, this is what we tried last week and it's working. Here's how we're using TikTok and out like having a team of creators create our content and this is working. That's super helpful. And I think you get so much just talking like face to face with another person. So as much as you can do that, and there's sites now where you can just like sign up to do that. It's really helpful.
So about that connection and keeping it in context, right? Learning from others, and it's really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
Uh,
100%.
Ben, I want to thank you a lot for being on the show with us today, and I want to give you the last word, right? So if someone forgets everything about an interview today, what is the one thing that they should remember about the work you guys are doing at Upgraded?
I think they should watch the growth and look for us as a new company on the horizon. But I think it's not really about us. It's more about their own journey of I think the more important thing is just about learning and kind of the last thing I said. Surround yourself with other people who are doing the things you want to do and you'll learn and grow from that. We're trying to do the same thing and we'll keep going on our journey though as well.
Love it. Love it. So Ben, if anyone wants to check you guys out and maybe needs to upgrade their MacBook right now, where should they go?
Best place is the website, getupgraded.com. It seriously is the best way to buy a MacBook. So if you're looking for that sort of thing, do that. Otherwise, our YouTube channel, if you just search Upgraded on YouTube, you should be able to find it. There's some good videos there as well.
Perfect. All right, we'll send people there as much as we can.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for
Thanks.
being with us, Ben, again, and we'll see you hopefully again soon before the end of the year.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye, everyone.